This is Windshield Hoops. What's going on, everybody? This is J.Wilder here alongside Zach Rudeen and Alfred Smith for our first official episode. We did our mock episode last week, but this is the real thing officially. So what's up, guys?
What's up?
We're here. We're here officially, right? It felt like the start of the show was last week. Was it last week? It was last week, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Almost I don't know what day it was, honestly, but yeah, we're here for our first episode officially. So this is the whole shebang. We did who would you rather build around series as like a little sample last week, but now we're full into this and we're only going to build from that. So how has the basketball world been for you guys?
It's been great. There's a lot going on. There's a ton going on right now. All type of injuries, teams ascending, teams trending downward. There's a lot going on.
Other than my favorite team being a complete disappointment, it's been a fun year of basketball to watch.
Shut up.
James doesn't want to hear about, we're both Wolves fans, if you guys didn't know. But yeah, this is just a really good year to start the show because, we're going to be tying a lot of draft prospects to this too. And this is the best, draft class I've seen. And I'm so excited to continue to watch them. But yeah, it's been a really fun season to start soon. You're going to have like guys like LeBron James breaking the all-time scoring record at some point this year. It's going to be a good year.
Yeah, that should be really exciting.
Speaking of injuries, right? We just got a report right before the show today. Literally, we didn't prepare for this. It just happened right before we're recording this at around 2:00 Central on December 28th. Devin Booker is going to miss the next 4 weeks due to a groin injury, something he appeared to aggravate against Denver on Christmas night. So, hey, Zach, I'm going to start with you. What does this mean for the Suns?
Well, this means, who's going to be the number one option? What is DeAndre Ayton going to be able to, what type of roles is he going to be able to fill? Chris Paul has not been very good this year compared to his normal standards. He seems to have lost a step. I feel like this may have been the year where he actually hits a regression point. Part of it could be due to injuries. He's dealt with some stuff. But who is going to take over for Booker as that number one scorer? You have Cam Johnson, who's already also out. I don't know where they're going to where they're going to find this scoring product. Because Booker has been pretty unreal recently. He just had a near 60-point game a few weeks ago. I just don't know where they're going to figure out, where the scoring is going to come from without Booker over the next month.
Yeah, I think they're going to be very tested. They already have been. I think we'll find out a ton about Monty Williams, and his coaching job, his coaching efforts, and also James Jones and the general manager and how the team is constructed. You have a number one pick in DeAndre Ayton. He's talented, he's capable, but have you put the pieces truly around for him to be successful in time of injury? Injuries occur. It's an 82-game season. So I think it is by far it will probably be by far the most interesting time period for the Suns because I think it's the most you'll find out about them.
Yeah, I had a lot of beef on Instagram to start in September, and a lot of Suns fans hated me. And I am never the person who's ever going to root for injuries. I think that is wrong. That's immoral. But I did say the Phoenix Suns, the team's durability was a major concern for me to start the season. Cam Johnson gets banged up. He's already banged up, right? Chris Paul going into age 38 soon, right? He's banged up. He hasn't been banged up a ton this year, but he's been banged up early in the season. And, Devin Booker's been a relatively durable player. So this is just, misfortune. It's unfortunate and, somewhat of a surprise, but it's kind of an addition to that question, how healthy this Phoenix Suns team and how healthy this Phoenix Suns team is. And without Booker now, there's a lot of problems because my question with Phoenix X's and O's on the basketball court is, okay, Devin Booker is him. I think he's the best shooting guard in basketball. You can argue Shea, you can argue Donovan Mitchell, blah, blah, blah. I think Devin Booker's that guy. I think he's the most well-rounded shooting guard in the NBA, number one scoring option. And outside of him, I don't trust anybody else. Chris Paul in his late 30s doesn't look the same offensively. He doesn't have the same burst, not the same, strength under his legs from three. He can't get to the hoop the same way. DeAndre Ayton, as talented as he is, there's something missing there that has always held him back from being that, David Robinson-esque player. A lot of people hope pre-draft. And I have questions about his playmaking instincts and how that's going to be, shine light upon more without Devin Booker, because he's not a good passer at all. And he's not much of a great, creator off the dribble. So I do have concerns because I don't trust Devin Booker, or I trust Devin Booker. I don't trust Chris Paul. I don't trust DeAndre Ayton there. And I obviously don't trust Mikal Bridges. So I'm really concerned about the Phoenix Suns because I don't know who keeps this offense afloat.
Yeah, I agree. It's something about DeAndre Ayton that I've been, like throughout his whole career, he's never been a guy who's really welcomed contact. He's never been somebody that is trying to draw contact. That's something he needs to do better at. This year, according to Cleaning the Glass, he's in the 28th percentile for bigs and drawing fouls. And if, he wants to become a more successful player, that has to increase. He's just not somebody that welcomes contact as much as you'd want at his size. And that's something he needs to change.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Zach. You hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, and with DeAndre, like, you watch it in the playoffs, you watch it historically, like, it isn't that he struggles posting up bigs, he struggles posting up guards sometimes, right? Like, I remember in the finals of 2021, I was getting so frustrated because, like, Milwaukee was throwing its guards on Ayton at times at the high post at that 15 to 17 foot range, and Ayton would only do a couple dribbles and do a super long hook shot. Like, force your will physically, throw your body in there, get around the rim. And, credit to DeAndre. He's been very good this year. He's averaging over 17 points a game, over 60% shooting. He's doing what you expect him to do. This Phoenix Suns team, there's no excuses for DeAndre Ayton anymore, guys. There's no excuses. There's been a lot of excuses from Suns fans have argued, like, well, it's how he's used. It's how he's utilized offensively. They don't prioritize him because of Devin Booker, right? Well, Devin Booker's not here anymore. Chris Paul can't carry the load. DeAndre has to carry a load. So this is going to be a very interesting month because we're going to see, am I right about DeAndre Ayton, or have the Suns held him back? We're going to see that.
For sure.
For sure.
What
do you guys think the performance quality the Suns will give? What record in the next month?
We're talking like 4 weeks of games here. I think they'll probably be around like 500. I haven't looked their schedule at all, but I'm gonna guess like around 500. They're the 5 seed in the West right now. I think they probably drop behind maybe the Mavericks and the Kings. We'll see though.
This Phoenix Suns, I'm looking at the schedule right now. It's pretty brutal the next few weeks. So they play Washington today. That's a winnable game, even without Devin Booker. Yep. Then they play Toronto. That's another winnable game, right? But then it's New York, good basketball team in New York. Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland. They play Miami, probably Butler and Bam back by then, right? Cleveland again, Golden State, Denver, Minnesota, Memphis, Brooklyn, Indiana, Memphis.
Wow.
There's not one gimme game in that stretch.
Yeah. So I think Chris Paul is going to have to, try to spark some magic.
Yeah, Chris Paul is going to be important, guys. But like I said, I think Ayton has to be that 22 and 13 guy during the stretch. There's no doubt about it.
But it's like if he's not gonna welcome contact, if he's not gonna consistently go back to the basket, how does that happen? You know what I mean? Outside of getting set up.
Yeah, he has to be a play creator. He can't be a play finisher, right? He's mainly a play finisher historically.
Yeah, and when Chris Paul's not playing like Chris Paul, he's not going to be able to finish plays as much. It's both those guys really need to step up this month.
That's why it'll be really interesting to see how Monty handles all that, because all of this stuff is out there. We're not saying anything that is, necessarily news. So that's why it'll be really intriguing to see how Monty goes about it.
Yep, no doubt. Phoenix Suns, West is tight right now, right? Slipping a few games that's the difference between the 4 seed and the 10 seed right now. So Phoenix can't afford to slip these next couple of weeks as well, because what are they, 20 and 15 right now? They had a pretty big win yesterday against Memphis, right? So yeah, this next stretch is very important. Let's shift gears here though, quote LeVar Ball. Stock risers of the week. We're doing this every single week, so I'm going to remind the crowd what this is. So essentially, each Alfred myself, Alfred, and Zach, we're going to give our candidate for stock riser of the week, which is the young player who's just building his stock lately, somebody who you're either growing higher on or should be getting more attention throughout the media. And after we give our candidates, we're going to put it on polls on social media, who should be the official stock riser of the week. You guys vote on that and we'll announce that the next show. So really excited for this one. Okay, Alfred, I want to start it out with you. Who's the stock riser of the week?
My stock riser of the week has to be Ty Jerome out of Golden State point guard.
I love that.
He
I like that.
Has had quite the tenure. I believe he's been on like 5 different G League teams. He's been traded around the league. Right now, him and Steve Kerr have really seemed to, find something there to where he's clicking. And, he's been able to play make, has been able to go and run the offense in a way that not to discredit Steph Curry. We know who Steph Curry is, but as he brings a real true playmaking ability to Golden State. And that's something that could be really unique for Golden State once, their guys get healthier. And I've got to go with Ty Jerome. He's been on a tear for I believe the last 7 games, being able to consistently hover around double digits or get double digits.
Yep, he had 14 points on Christmas, 14 against Brooklyn, 11 points. He's doing it efficiently outside of the Charlotte game yesterday. 6 for 9, 5 for 9, 5 for 7, 2 for 3. So he's been very efficient and effective for a Warriors team that is desperate for depth help, especially with Steph out.
Yeah. Ty Jerome, my stock right.
Zach?
Well, talking about teams that's kind of desperate for talent, the Spurs rookie Jeremy Sohan over the last week has had a really good week. Over the last 4 games, he's averaged 14.5 points a game, 8 boards. He's figured out the playmaking a little bit more, over 4 assists per game, 44% from the field, and near triple-double against the Pelicans. He's definitely a guy where I think he can be a franchise pillar for that team. I don't think he'll ever become like an intrusive, offensive talent, but he's somebody who can guard ball at multiple spots defensively. He can rebound the ball like crazy. I think he's got some really good offensive traits, including his handle. I think he can definitely be a franchise pillar down the road for the Spurs team, and he's really starting to show that. I think the Spurs in general have figured out a lot of, who their guys are going to be in the future with, some of the breakouts they've had this year. And I think Jeremy Sohan could be a really big part of that team's future.
Yeah, Jeremy, didn't he have a career game the other day? I think he had like 23, 10, and 7 or something like that. Let me see.
They had
23, 9, and 7.
Triple-double. Yeah.
Up against New Orleans.
That was against a really good team too. So I was impressed by that.
Yeah, he was an interesting college prospect. He was sort of like a lot of people compared him to like a less physically gifted Scotty Barnes, right? Because he had like the incredibly well-rounded game. He was 6'9". He had the handle, playmaking feel, and he was just a pest on defense who can grab a boatload of offensive rebounds, right? So, yeah, he's interesting. And obviously, saw this tweet the other day about how badly the Spurs are trying to tank right now because Jeremy Sohan is taking one-handed free throws.
Oh, yeah.
He can't make a free throw to save his life. 45% on the season or something like that, the last time I checked. So, yeah.
That's
Jeremy,
hilarious.
He's intriguing. Can't shoot free throws, but intriguing.
Agreed. Oh, and by the way, he's got that green hair right now. I put out a picture on Instagram the other day of him next to Dennis Rodman Dennis Rodman wore the same number with the Spurs, and he had that same green dyed hair once. And I put the pictures next to each other and it looks super funny.
Zach, you should get green hair.
Yeah, I should.
Alfred, you should make your beard green.
That'll be like the Black Joker with a beard, though.
Yes.
Innovative. That's what
it's
all about, right?
Number one innovation. Green. Yeah.
James could be the green sideburn Elvis Presley.
Oh man. Well, I'm gonna give you guys my stock riser of the week, and there's a couple of bigs I wanted to consider. I just want to give love to Nicholas Claxton. We'll talk about him more on the show today. I want to give him love. He didn't quite get it today. I'm going to give it to the Pistons rookie who was number 5 on my board pre-draft, Jalen Duren. He's been so impressive these past couple of weeks. I mean, he's been He's been gobbling rebounds night in and night out. Like the 26th, he had 12 boards. On the 20th, he had 14. The 16th, he had 14. Against Charlotte, he had 19. In his last 10 games, he has 8 double-digit rebounding games. He's just a freaking monster on the glass. And I love his defensive versatility, his ability to switch, protect the rim. And I think something nobody talks about, he's got like a lot of playmaking upside, sort of like kind of like a Robert Williams or a Steven Adams. There's this one play where he was like, it was last game. He got like this high screen. He got the ball. I forgot who he passed it to, but he threw a beautiful bounce pass, slashing to a cutting guard. And it just looked like a Steven Adams type pass to me. You know, nobody thinks of Steven Adams as a great passer, but he's a very underrated passer. Robert Williams, he's got so much playmaking upside, and he's shown that the past couple of games, and he's been a monster on the glass. He's one of the most physically gifted players in basketball, period, point blank. You know, I think Detroit has a potential all-star center going down the road.
Yeah, I agree. He's been impressive since he started, since he's got that starting role for the Pistons. I think he's averaging like almost like 15 rebounds a game. I mean, he's just been an absolute beast. I mean, he's the youngest player in the NBA doing this too. Yep. Like it's so special how physically gifted he was. I remember watching his high school film 2 years ago, and he looked like a 25-year-old just athlete on a lot of stuff. Like he's always been so physically gifted, and I don't know how, but he's got God's gift when it comes to physicality.
Yeah, he's a monster for sure. He's a monster.
Yeah, he has the Dwight Howard type physical, toolbox, you can say. He's just a monster physically. And shout out to Isaiah Stewart as well, because he's going to have to adapt to a power forward role, and now he's just spacing the floor, nailing threes. And I think that's going to make a big difference for him going forward with this Pistons vision, because he's not starting at center anytime soon with Jalen Duren on the roster.
Yeah.
So those are the guys. So we had Ty Jerome, we had Jalen Duren, and Jeremy Sohan as the players or stock risers of the week. We'll have that as a poll, as soon as tomorrow from the moment we're recording this. So when this is out, this will be a poll. So stay tuned for that. Absolutely. And let's shift to another topic right here. So we're 30 plus games into the season. We usually know what kind of teams, what path they should take, considering where where squads are at right now. And Victor Wembanyama evidently is, changing the draft landscape. He's changing the vision of teams with the draft, making that a bigger emphasis than usual, which is crazy to consider. So I'm going to ask you guys, Zach, I'm going to start with you. What are some teams that come to mind that should, kind of get rid of the path they are on just to blow it up for Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson for that matter?
Well, the 3 teams where I'm like, you absolutely need to try to lose every game you possibly can. Those teams are the Spurs, Rockets, and Hornets. I kind of put a question mark next to the Pistons. They could be one of those teams. I think the Pistons, they have Cunningham. I don't know, what the cards are in play for him as a number 1 option in the future. But you have guys like Duren that we've talked about, and Ivy next to him already. And those other teams like the Rockets, Hornets, and Spurs don't have as much talent. But yeah, I think the Washington Wizards are low-key a team that you don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to, ship off players at the deadline? Because I think they're a team that could really need a number 1 option that's, above Beal. But mainly the 3 teams I've been looking at, the Spurs really need a number 1 guy. The Hornets need somebody next to LaMelo Ball. Please get that dude some help. And the Rockets, they need something, more than Jalen Green. Jalen Green hasn't had the best of seasons, in my opinion. He hasn't been that disappointing, though. I'm still not fully sold on him being a number 1 option. But yeah, the Spurs, Rockets, Hornets I'm looking at.
I've got to go with Houston. And I agree with San Antonio as well, because they're definitely lacking, a number 1 option. But like you said, outside of Jalen Green, and he hasn't been necessarily what people have expected him to be so early in his career. I think it'd have to be Houston, because I feel like even between those 3 teams, there's a disparity in talent between Houston and those teams. I feel like Houston is the least talented of the 3 that you mentioned. So I think I definitely have to go Houston. They've got to do something. They've been stuck in sort of purgatory since, James Harden. And now there's rumors James Harden might want to go back there. So, who knows what's going down there in Houston, what's going on down there in Houston.
I think I interpreted this question a little differently. I was thinking of the teams that, because we know the Spurs are going to tank for Victor. We know the Rockets are going to tank for Victor. I was kind of interpreting this question as like, which teams should follow that party that aren't in it right now. So I got a couple teams to mention right here. Right here. Let me look up my note. It's frozen.
Let me go first before you hold that thought.
Yeah.
And this might sound crazy or maybe not, but I mean, it probably has to be the Lakers. It probably has to be the Lakers. I mean, they've been just bad for the last 2 years. The team has been constructed poorly for the last 4 years. Anthony Davis, as great as he is, as talented as he is, he will be an all-time great. You can't trust him to consistently be on the floor at this point, nor can you really trust a soon-to-be 38-year-old LeBron to carry your franchise anymore. I think it's at a point where the way that team is constructed, the way they've been trending for the last 2 years, blowing it up is an understatement. So I have to go with the Lakers.
Yeah. And that team doesn't have any draft capital going forward. The team isn't eligible to trade its draft picks till 2027, 2029.
Yeah.
So when you consider that, they don't really have much out of this path that they're in, a path of mediocrity. And the only way to get out of it is if you trade Anthony Davis, if you trade LeBron James. I'm with you.
And that's what I was kind of getting at. I mean, I'm getting at, it's not really going to work long term. You can keep trying. You can keep saying, you can keep going into the next year of season, going into the next season saying, okay, I hope we stay healthy this year. But he wasn't healthy the year they got the ring. He wasn't healthy. So I just feel like it's just not working. And I mean, they've got to do something that people aren't necessarily thinking about or think they would do if they want success for now and their future, because their future is already determined with their draft capital.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Zach, what do you think?
Imagine in this weird world where the Lakers somehow gift Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson to the Pelicans.
Oh no.
With what they already like. We can't even rule this out. The Lakers have been they're 14-20. They're the 13th seed in the West. Looking at the standings right now, it looks like they'd have like the 8th best odds for the number 1 pick. Teams make jumps there. If they made a jump to a top 4 pick, you can get somebody like Wembanyama, Henderson, Whitmore, Amen Thompson. Like any of those guys would be. I just can't imagine if the Pelicans get somebody like that. Like, do you trade that off if it's if you get Wembanyama, you don't trade that off. But if you get somebody like the 4th overall pick, you can maybe make a move there. But they have so much talent already, and just adding to that with another top 5 pick would be out of this world.
Even if they get a Scoot Henderson, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they need a franchise point guard. CJ McCollum is regressing. We're seeing that this year. That would be a nightmare, man. It would be their league for 5-6 years plus during the Zion window. That would be devastating. It's great as a basketball fan, but when you're a fan of a team, that is devastating, especially one in the Western Conference. So not that we're doing anything, but so here's a couple other teams I think are worthy of being mentioned. One, the Utah Jazz. I get it. This is a above 500 team right now. This is way better than expected. I had this team as the 14th seed in the Western Conference before this year, but look, there's still a ceiling to this core. There still is. Lauri Markkanen, great year. Props to him. He's a franchise player right now. You're not winning anything deep with that. Like Mike Conley's not getting any younger. Heck, Jordan Clarkson isn't getting any younger, right? With this winning in this part of the season, what's happened is these guys, Jordan Clarkson, Mike Conley, players of that nature, Malik Beasley, they're becoming more and more valuable as long as they remain relevant. And if you're Utah, why wouldn't you take advantage of that and get more assets and push toward a rebuild? They already have double-digit draft picks they can play with, but they can get more. They can get more young talent. right? And you keep a core of Lauri Markkanen and Jared Vanderbilt, Walker Kessler, Horton Tucker, and you add pieces of that while positioning yourself in the draft with endless draft capital. That makes too much sense to me. It's not too late to do that. The Toronto Raptors need some consideration right now. They got to figure out, like, where are you going with the score? Fred VanVleet, is he really that guy? I'm personally not a Fred VanVleet guy. He's one of the worst scorers in basketball within the two first levels. He can't finish around the rim whatsoever. It is really hard to watch sometimes. And, Scotty Barnes is having a down year. You might have to have the question, like, is OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Scotty Barnes a little redundant, right? Like, you got to figure out, like, what direction this team going? How are you going to best maximize Scotty Barnes, who's been disappointing this year? That's a topic for a later part of the show. So this team's got to pick a direction. The Wizards, another team. It's been one of the worst teams in the league since the start of the year, kind of like last year. They're kind of in that victor path right now. They have a bottom 6 record. And, Chicago is an obvious one, right? It doesn't seem like they're going anywhere. They have no defense. They have no rim protection. Zach LaVine is 27 years old with knee issues. DeMar DeRozan, he isn't getting any younger. He wants to get paid soon. How long are you going to have him? So these are just teams that you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. Don't trick your fans into thinking like, oh, they have a chance for the play-in. Just, that's not worth it. Take a step back. This is the perfect year to do it.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked I loved how you mentioned the redundancy of the structure of the Toronto's Raptors, because you hit the nail on the head there.
It's one of those
that's why I think out of the three you just mentioned, I think Toronto the most, because like what is your direction? What are you trying to do? What is your identity? Besides looking for the same style player,
Yeah. Same with Chicago too. I mean, they're not good.
Yeah. And you have, like, I mean, do they still have picks out to the Magic at all? I'm not sure.
It's top 4 protected this year, and I think they're good after. But they did trade a pick to the Spurs. I don't know what year that is, but something to look out for.
But yeah, they've had, some, I mean, Vucevic, I think he's got very limited time left at, any top level that he's been playing at. I like the point with LaVine. Bulls fans have been pretty upset with him this year after he got his big extension. He hasn't played as up to expectations. He's continued to have those knee injuries. Yeah, the Bulls are definitely a weird team there. And then I'm sure we'll talk about him later, but their number 4 draft pick in 2020, Patrick Williams, has not been there for them like a number 4 pick should be.
Yeah, man, these teams are in tough spots, and they got to find a way to get out of this. There's no doubt. All right, let's shift the topic here once again. Oh, this is the good one. This is the good one. I think Zach. I don't know. Zach, did you get any sleep last night?
Yeah, I got like 8.5 hours, probably 9.
Well, who gets 8.5, 9 hours of sleep these days?
I don't know.
Alfred, when was the last time you got 8.5 hours of sleep in college?
I couldn't tell you.
That is amazing. Zach is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. So
enjoy those.
Oh?
I told Zach to enjoy those. Enjoy the 8 hours, like 8, 9 hours.
Zach, how are you sleeping that well as a Timberwolves fan?
I'm not sleeping well as a Timberwolves fan specifically. Not sleeping well.
Sleeping 9 hours.
He didn't say he wasn't having nightmares.
Yeah, I'm still having constant nightmares about my team's future and everything being thrown in the trash. But other than that, it's been pretty nice.
Yeah, our $40 million center isn't blocking shots. It seems like people don't like each other sometimes.
Yeah.
We have no draft picks, but everything is good. We're not panicking here. We're not panicking. All right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some real basketball right now. Luka Doncic, we saw him yesterday drop 62, 20, and 10. 60, 21, and 10. And, the Knicks were up 9 points with 35 seconds left, and they found a way to lose that game. I don't know how that's not possible. That's the first time that's ever happened. And, I think this was great timing because while we were playing this show, I made a post on Monday about Luka versus Tatum. Who would you rather build around this year? And I think this just makes it extra relevant. So, okay, Alfred, I'm going to start with you. Luka Doncic versus Jason Tatum. Who would you rather have this year? And even going forward, if you want.
This is so tough asking me this question the day after he drops a 60. Man, this is really hard.
I can go. I was cooking up last night on this stuff. I would have Doncic for both right now and the future aspect. At the start I was like, yeah, I'm going Doncic, and I started thinking about things like, I mean, I really like Tatum's two-way ability. Maybe that can make more sense in the future. But I really started digging into numbers on clean the glass. Yes, I'm becoming a stats nerd. Unfortunately, I'm becoming one of those guys. But I mean, I was looking at all these advanced analytics, and it kind of surprised me how far above Doncic kind of looks compared to Tatum in these. Doncic almost has a 50% assist rate, which, if you guys don't know what it means, that's when he's on the court, he's making 44% of those assists compared to the rest of his team. Tatum was like 17%. Doncic is a more efficient scorer. He's a better shooter at the rim. He's better in the mid range. He's better from 3-point. He draws more fouls. He's
not 3-point. He's not better from 3.
Well, no.
I would argue not better from mid range either. But okay.
I'm just like saying no because he's a 50% mid range shooter and Tatum's a 43%. That's what I was going off of. And he had a better defensive rebounding percentage rate. And I mean, the playoffs, I think Doncic has shown that he's a better player in the playoffs. Even last year, his numbers looked a lot better in the playoffs. I think Tatum had some efficiency struggles last year, but I mean, he still had a really good playoffs, averaging 25, 6, and 6 as he led the Celtics to the finals. I would take Doncic still, but I think it's a real conversation now. I don't think it's something that you can definitively say like there has to be discussion because of Tatum's two-way ability compared to Luka, who's not a bad defender, but he's not really a good one either. Yeah, I think it's starting to become a real debate that a lot of people are not aware of.
I love Tatum. I love his two-way ability. I love his ability to lead too. I love, rookie year, faced 1-on-1 with Bron, game 7, dunked on him. He showed he had it early. But I still have to go Luka. I have to go Luka here because Luka, when I try to weigh it out, I think like, okay, well, who has, like, the first question is who has the bigger upside? But then it's like Luka was really a superstar immediately as soon as he came into the league. And then just outside of the advanced metrics, the eye test shows you the disparity in offensive ability between the two all around, not necessarily just scoring, all around offense. You can clearly see that Luka is the better offensive player. I think Luka's ability to lead a team and take over games truly in the playoffs, like Zach said, is what pushes him over the top for me over Tatum.
I think that one of the first people to ever be on the Luka Doncic train, like since 2017. And in 2018, when it was the DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley, Luka Doncic debate, I said, not only is Luka the best prospect in this draft, he is the best prospect since LeBron. He reminds me of Larry Bird. I did say that. What he did in Real Madrid was unprecedented. And he has proven me right. And the more he drops 60 points, the more I'm right. So I'm going to say that first, but I'm going to spin this a little bit, okay? When you're talking about somebody who's the best player on a championship team, not just best player, but just best player on a championship team, would you rather have the elite two-way player who can function as a primary and secondary creator, who can play off of high usage stars, right? Like a Jaylen Brown, or do you want the crazy high usage one-way player? I just want to hear what you guys think.
Generally, I mean, without context, I would probably like, a two-way capable player. I think a lot of the recent, finals MVPs have had that ability. I mean, not Stephen Curry as much last year. He was kind of more of the, he wasn't a bad defender, but he was mainly just the offensive piece. And then you have guys like Giannis in the past, Kawhi. Those are really nice two-way options. Curry and his, other Finals MVPs, he was a much better defender than, LeBron when he's won. He's always been a two-way player. So yeah, generally, I would probably rather have a two-way guy.
Same. It'd have to be a two-way player. I mean, it'd have to be the two-way player. But what separates is that Luka's special. There's not too many players that I personally would put over an elite two-way player. But Luka just brings in a unique edge, unicorn-like edge.
Here's the thing. Luka Doncic has a 38 usage this season, okay? Every player in NBA history, there's 7 players who have a 38 or better usage in NBA history. Not one won the championship that year. Not one won the championship that year. And I think there's greater context needed. There's no real secondary star in Dallas. That definitely plays a part of it. I do think, though, when you consider some of the players that have come in and come out of Dallas, right? Like Jalen Brunson, KP, right? They've left and they've broken out to their own respects, right? So it's not like he hasn't had opportunities to play next to elite players. I think that is something that's worth considering. And to be fair to Luka, he's had probably the best defensive year of his career this year. He has a -2 on off, which is a good thing. That means the defense is 2 points better per 100 possessions when he is on the basketball court. But I remember watching the 2017 James Harden, 2018 James Harden, and it's kind of a funny coincidence because Luka Doncic isn't the first player to put a 60-point triple-double on the basketball court. James Harden did it a few years ago. James Harden was averaging 36 and 9 in the past. And I think Luka Doncic's style right now reminds me the most of James Harden just because the unbelievable usage. Both are unbelievable slashers and playmakers, very heliocentric offensive styles, meaning very central, like everything goes around them. The problem I have with that play style is when it comes to the playoff time, right? Usually when you're playing against those dynamic offenses like Golden State or super dynamic offense, they start to marginalize that. Those great players still get theirs, but it gets marginalized in big moments, right? James Harden, Game 7 against Golden State, misses 27 straight threes as a team, right? A lot of that was Harden at the center. Like last year, even in the playoffs last year, Luka Doncic, first half of a playoff game, Luka Doncic was a different player from the second half, Luka Doncic. I've got the exact numbers, but second half, his numbers would go down pretty consensusly. Not because he's choking, but because he is tired. So my point is, in terms of pure basketball style, I would rather have Jason Tatum's archetype this year than I would have Luka Doncic's archetype. And I have a little bit of questions of how much, Luka is going to adapt to his to all fairness to him. Michael Jordan had a 38 usage in his third year and he adapted, but I still want to see him, alongside high-end players, how he plays off of those guys. I have some issues with how when adversity hits sometimes, when officiating is bad, it feels like he brings his team down more than he brings teams up. Those are some like little leadership element things I think he needs to work on. And, like I said, while I think he is a better player than James Harden was at that point, I think he has a little bit more of an FU element to him. I still don't think his play style right now is championship level. The way he plays the game right now isn't championship level. Whereas Jason Tatum, who is averaging 31, 8, and 5 this year, is one of the best defensive wings in the league this year, right? I just would rather have that player.
Yeah. I'm actually shocked that it didn't work out between him and Porzingis because I felt like their play styles should have fit together like a glove. So I think the number one telling element in that situation is his usage rate and the fact that Porzingis the majority of the time was standing in the corner being a spot-up shooter. So, yeah.
I can understand. I can understand why, Brunson and, why Brunson has kind of taken our step with the Knicks and, kind of how he looked better without Luka last year. Brunson's just one of those guys who needs the higher usage. He benefits off of a higher usage. I remember they showed a stat like on TNT during the playoffs last year on Brunson's numbers with and without Doncic, and his numbers were a lot better without him. And that was obviously due to him getting more on-ball touches. I just think that's a Brunson specific thing, that he is an on-ball type of creator more, and that's what he benefits off of, compared to playing next to somebody like Luka, who's going to dominate the ball. I don't know how to explain the Porzingis part. I feel like that could have worked a lot better.
That's my point, though. That's my point, though, right? Jason Tatum is playing off of Jaylen Brown a lot of the time. Jaylen Brown is having a career year because Jason Tatum's game can be lower maintenance in terms of playing next to the hot hand. That's what I'm saying. So when I'm talking about do I think Tatum is better than Luka Doncic? I don't. But do I think Jason Tatum's skill set right now brings you further in the playoffs? I absolutely do. Do I think that can change from Luka Doncic? Yes, but there's something to be said. Guys are coming in and coming out of Dallas and playing better after they leave. That's not like a thing.
Do you still feel that way if you put him in Dallas?
Who?
Tatum.
I think Dallas is better defensively with Tatum, and I still think he gives you 30. I don't think the offense is quite as efficient, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they would really be lacking passing and playmaking, obviously, with that happening. But yeah, I think it's pretty close between the guys. I would take Doncic still, and he'd be the guy I'd take in the playoffs. But I can understand why people would want to lean Tatum, because he doesn't need the ball as much. He can work off of others. Whereas Luka, it's more so he has to be the guy. He's not really going to be an off-ball type player ever in his career, which is fine. I mean, he's one of the more special players the game's seen in a long time. He shouldn't, have an expectation to play off-ball that much. And I think it's just about Dallas figuring out the right pieces to put around him. To be fair, his supporting cast has looked really bad this year. I mean, you got guys like Reggie Bullock shooting horribly.
It's not all his fault. I'm not saying that. No.
Yeah. His whole team has just kind of let him down this year in spots. And I don't know how the Mavericks are going to figure out how to get him a second star, because they don't have cap space for at least 2 more years. You don't really you've Wood, who I don't know I think his contract might be expiring after this year. I'm not sure, but you have
extension eligible right now.
Yeah, he's extension eligible. I just don't know what their path is to getting a second star with what the teams, what they currently look like.
What would the skill set of his co-star need to look like? Because I'm not sure. I'm not sure what style, number 2 would fit with him in his play style. Truly,
I think Luka has to adapt his game.
He already had a big. He had a big in Porzingis who could go down in the paint and be, more aggressive than Ayton. A little bit more aggressive than DeAndre Ayton, and who could shoot from deep. You know what I mean? So he's already had a big, capable of doing these things. So what is the skill set? What do you guys think is the skill set that of a second star that would fit best next to him?
I don't think Luka Doncic right now is great playing next to secondary stars with his heliocentric style. I think he needs to adapt his game like MJ did.
Mm-hmm. I think it would have to be if you had to put somebody next to him, it'd have to be, somebody who can be really good secondary creator, somebody who can, be a top scorer in the league, somebody that can really create for themselves. Kind of thinking guys like maybe like a Bradley Beal or like a Zach LaVine archetype. But I do have questions of kind of what the backcourt defense would look like, with, pairing those 2 guys next to Luka. So it's kind of hard to try to find the combination. But somebody like those 2 guys is what I'm kind of thinking.
Okay.
And to add to a question you asked, Alfred, who does better with Jalen Brunson in Dallas, Luka Doncic or Jason Tatum?
You said who does better with Jalen Brunson in Dallas?
Yeah, Jalen Brunson's still on the roster. Jason Tatum
for sure. Tatum, because he would have more control. As we've already spoke on. In short, Tatum doesn't need the ball. He doesn't need to be ball dominant to get his shot off. And as a small point guard in Brunson, he needs to have the ball to be successful. So I think he'd fit best with Tatum.
I love Luka, and I think he is going to be an all-time player, and I do think he's going to change his game somewhat, and I think he has the highest offensive ceiling in the NBA. But I'm talking like, would I rather have right now? Would I rather have on my roster, and I'm trying to win a championship? I'm going Tatum. Like I said, I want the two-way player. That's what could give Jason Tatum the edge. And when you look at the greatest players of all time, y'all, it's the defense that separates them. It's not the offense. It's the defense that separates you from great to GOAT. It's just true. Not to say Tatum's a future GOAT, but the best players to play the game are great defenders. And Jason Tatum can still give you your 30 points a game any night. And yeah, he had a tough finals. I mean, Kobe had bad finals when he was younger, right? Like, I'm not saying he's Kobe, but like everybody has a bad finals. I don't think he's a playoff choker. He's proven too much. We saw him drop 50 against Milwaukee last year. We saw him at 19 years old lead his team to the conference finals. He's a big-time playoff player, and he's a big-time two-way player. So, by the way, he's been dropping 40 lately too. We saw him drop 41 at Christmas Day. Like, I just like the way Tatum plays more if I'm trying to build a championship. I think Luka Doncic's style right now will get him tired in the second half of playoff games.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, let's shift the topic there. That's going to be an interesting thing we should look out for, how some of our listeners interpret that conversation. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of, James, you're an idiot. And James, you're sort of smart sometimes. And I think Alfred, Alfred and Zach, you guys are going to be cooking. I think you guys will be way more liked.
Yeah, it's very possible.
All right.
James always has the most polarizing takes for people to he's gonna either have people that are absolutely loving, his hot takes, or people that think he shouldn't be talking about basketball. But I mean, I think everything he said was really logical.
I get told that I should never talk basketball again about 6 times a day. So kind of numb. Timberwolves failures numb me. But all right, next topic. Well, let's talk about the Indiana Pacers a little bit, because that's another team that like similar to Utah, people thought would be bottom of the barrel, but they have not been. And the direction of this team is a little questionable. What should they do with Miles Turner and Bradley Beal, so on and so forth? Zach, let's start with you. Or
Buddy Hield.
Buddy Hield. What should they do?
I think this team needs to stay pat. I love this core that they've got cooking up right now. I think you keep this core together. I think Halliburton and Mathurin are potentially the best backcourt in the NBA in 5 years. You have a lot of cap space next year. You only have $73 million on the books. That's like $50 million in space. Obviously, you have to account for, Miles Turner. Are you going to re-sign him? That's probably like 18 to 20 million a year based on what he's available to get. I still don't know if this team's a playoff team, because you have teams like the Heat behind them still. I still think the Heat will be a better team by the end of the year. But I think this Pacers team's been so impressive this year. I think they're 18-7. 18-17 right now. I think they're the 7th seed in the West. They've been really fun to watch. Mathurin potentially went 6th man of the year as a rookie. He's been the second best rookie in the NBA this year. Halliburton's been playing like an all-star. He's not a fake all-star like Wally was talking about, former Timberwolves player, all-star with us. But yeah, this team needs to stay pat and keep this core together. I don't see the value in them completely destroying this team and trading away valuable assets to maybe get another, top pick.
Yeah, I also love what they're doing down there. They've been building a nice core. They've got to find a way to make it work. They got to find a way to keep guys happy, because they may not be a playoff team now, but they're surely on the verge. And with reps and continuing the foundation that they're trying to build there, I think they can be within the next 1-2 years. So I think they should certainly stay pat, keep working, and find a way to get better through personnel, obviously.
Halliburton has been really good this year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton
he's been very underrated his entire career, I think.
I believe him and James Harden are the only players in the NBA averaging over 20 points and 10 assists right now. And
probably true.
That is pretty good company to be in, so Yeah, and there's no coincidence here, right? Because with Tyrese Halliburton averaging over 10 dimes, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner are having absolute career seasons. The two guys that are on the trade block theoretically every single season of their career, right? So it's an interesting dynamic here because on one hand, you can say, well, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, their value is at their peak right now. So you can probably get the most out of them right now if you trade them. But it's also complicated because, like, if you're Indiana, why would you want to take a step back? I don't think Tyrese Halliburton is someone you can suck with. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. And I think, dude, it's so weird. The Pacers team and like the organization in general, no matter how bad their roster is, they're like allergic to tanking and being like bottom tier. It's so weird. Like last year, that's the lowest you'll ever see them get, like the sixth pick. But yeah, I just don't see the value in trading away Miles Turner, who can be, he's still 26 years old. This is not a 30-year-old center. If he was 30, sure, ship him off. He's not, part of the timeline then, but he's 26 years old. He's one of the best shot blockers in the league. I still have, some questions about his rebounding and, what kind of impact he has there for the Pacers, but like he's a really good, big man to fit next to, Halliburton, who's one of the best passers in the league already. And Buddy Hield, he's averaging like 17 a game on 40% from three. Another really good off-ball piece to, again, one of the better passers in the league, Tyrese Halliburton. I like the core they got, and I think they got to keep it.
Yeah. It's just, I feel like one, I think they have franchise pillars in place. I think Tyrese Halliburton has all NBA potential, and Bennedict Mathurin might too. I think those are two all-stars you could build around. And you look at the rest of its young core. I really like Isaiah Jackson. Aaron Nesmith has been a revelation, right? And there's a handful of other guys, right? Chris Duarte, etc. Andrew Nemhard is having an awesome year. He might make an all-rookie team, right? And there's other guys I'm sure I'm missing also. So they have a really good young nucleus at place. They have multiple first-round picks in the next 2 years. So they have capital where if they want to go in on a big-time player, they don't need to tank to do that. And I don't think that's it. I don't think tanking for this team is very possible when you have a playmaking maestro like a Tyrese Halliburton. So I don't really get the point of taking a step back. I just say keep growing, keep cooking, letting your young players develop. And I think that's going to lead to more winning going forward. And if there's a big time player out there in the market, go for it. I think that is a more realistic path to competitiveness than stripping this down, when I don't think you can fully strip it down when you're building a franchise around an elite playmaker necessarily, unless you go all Charlotte Hornets and give him no players like LaMelo Ball, which you already have a Bennedict Mathurin. So, yeah, I don't think Indiana should take a step back. This team has only had 2 top 10 picks in the 2000s. So I don't think that should change at all. If they take a big step, going on a big time trade. Maybe don't trade 6 first-round picks for Rudy Gobert, but maybe trade 5 first-round picks for another high-end creator, right? So, yeah, I say Indiana should keep building, and if there's an opportunity to strike, take advantage.
Second that.
Zach, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. It's looking. I'm a big fan of this Pacers team, man. I still don't think that this is going to be a playoff team. I think they're going to be a playing team for sure. But I still believe in, because right now they're at the 7th spot. Then you got the Heat at the 8, and then the Hawks at the 9. I still believe that the Heat and the Hawks will pass them up. Maybe you could see the Knicks, who are the 6th seed right now. Maybe they could fall out. But I believe that it's more likely that they don't make the playoffs than they make it. It's still possible to make it though. Yeah, this is a fun team to watch. It's been one of the more fun league pass watches this year for me.
Yep, absolutely. And Indiana's at a good spot. There's really no doubt about it. I'm very curious to see what they end up doing with Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. I think they end up keeping them. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think they do. The Lakers have been in a lot of rumors for Turner. I don't think the Lakers really end up biting on that. I think the Lakers are like the only enticing package for Miles Turner, and that's because of how valuable I think teams seek out those, 26, 27 year picks to be the first rounders. I don't think the Lakers end up pulling the trigger because I don't think they're going to be good enough to the point where they're willing to trade off those picks at all. Especially with Miles Turner potentially being a rental, there's no guarantee that he'd re-sign with them after that. So yeah, I think those guys are staying pat.
Yeah, same here. I think they're staying pat. They have to, unless they're trying to completely blow it up and go in a complete new direction. I think they have to because they already have a pretty solid foundation, having Hield and having Miles Turner, and yeah, already one of the most solid backcourts. So, like I said earlier, just keep building.
Be kind of a funny movie plot twist after all this drama and quote unquote tension between Miles Turner and the Pacers. They end up extending him. Because I feel like outside of John Collins, he's been by far the most trade market happy player in the NBA.
It can happen. Why? At this point, why go to LA? You know what I mean? Who's going to gain anything from either side? You know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed.
I think really that is the best and maybe even really most likely option because it should be. I think they should re-sign him. They've got to make it work.
Mm-hmm. And it's not even that expensive.
They're in a much better position than some other younger teams.
Yeah. And it's not even be that expensive. I think I read the Shams article on the potential extension. I think he's eligible for like a 2-year, like $39 million deal or something. I think that's a pretty solid, like really good price for somebody at Miles Turner's caliber. It's, it's not going to be one of those like, because a lot of people at Miles Turner's caliber would probably be trying to hunt like above 20 million a year with just how the NBA salary cap is going right now and what players are asking for. But yeah, I think you got a franchise big there still.
Should we start talking about Brooklyn now?
Absolutely.
Brooklyn, how the tables have turned, right? Brooklyn looked like one of the biggest disasters in the NBA to start the year. And now they're looking like one of the most electric teams in the NBA again, fulfilling its talent. So I'm going to start out by asking Zach again. Where does Brooklyn rank in the East, and is this real?
I think this is real. I think this is a team that will stick top 4. Obviously, they're not going to, continue at this pace. They're 15-2, I think, in their last 17. They're on a 9-game win streak. That's not sticking, obviously. They're going to show some regression at some point. There'll probably be a minor losing streak along the way. But they're 20-7 with Vaughn as the new coach. They were 2-5, I believe, when Nash was still in charge. There's been kind of this energy shift, especially since Irving's returned. Durant's playing like a legit MVP candidate. Irving is a phenomenal number 2 on the championship team. I think Ben Simmons is starting to, figure out a little bit. I'm still looking for him to fully figure it out. We talked about Nick Claxton before. He's been playing good recently. He was almost one of your picks for stock riser of the week. I still think this team is a team that should be hunting for some type of rebounding and, in some capacity by the deadline, whether that's even like making some movement, like going out to get like Andre Drummond back or something, because they rank 29th in rebounding. If they can figure that out, become, maybe like a 15th to 20th ranked team in the league rebounding, that's for sure a top 4 seed lock. But there's definitely some, shot blocking and rebounding questions I have for the team. But even with those, I think it's a top 4 team in the East.
Yeah, it's definitely legit. I think they'll finish around top 3, top 4. It's not too much of a shock before the season. If you looked at the roster, you could see they're one of the better rosters in the league. They're completely stacked, especially from the top. Like you mentioned, since Kyrie came back, he's been absolutely sensational. Kevin Durant's been sensational all year. I think they're for real, and I think they're a threat to, regardless of where they finish, because they are kind of trying to dig themselves out of a hole while other teams are ascending. Regardless of where they finish, they'll be a threat to anyone in the East come playoff time.
20-7 with Jack Vaughn. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And during this time, the Nets are the number 4 offense. I don't think that's a surprise, but I think the craziest part of this is the number 7 ranked defense since he's become the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. This is the number 7 defense. Kevin Durant, he's having one of his 2 best seasons of his NBA career this year.
That
And that's
attests to the energy
amazing.
shift.
It's a testament to just, his commitment in terms of, getting himself healthy. Offensively, he's averaging nearly 30 on crazy efficiency. Great. But defensively, he's looking nearly like the Warriors' defensive Kevin Durant. And that is without Draymond. So this is a Kevin Durant who's looking like peak Kevin Durant on both sides of the floor, right? And you also consider defensively, you have other guys like Royce O'Neal. Ben Simmons might be somewhat of a shell of himself offensively, but he's there defensively. And let's get that boy Nicholas Claxton some love, man. He's been one of the best rim protectors in the NBA, Zach. Give him some respect, man. Let me give you guys some numbers because I know Zach loves his analytics. He is an 89th percentile in terms of percent rim shots contested. Okay. 93rd percentile in rim contests. 99th percentile in blocks per 75 possessions. He is 97th percentile in block rate on contest. 98th percentile on rim defensive field goal percentage versus expected. And 100th percentile in an adjusted rim point save for 75 possessions. He's been one of the best rim protectors in basketball this year. He is doing what I thought Rudy Gobert was going to do for my basketball team.
Me too.
Just we trade Suisse, Rudy Gobert. Just we trade Triste. Yeah, I'm very sad, Rudy Gobert. That's what I said in French. I said it wrong the first time, but Triste. I got to work on that. That's sad in French, but yeah, I'm very sad. That's a different topic. Nicholas Claxton has been one of the best rim protectors in the NBA, and he's 23 years old. Kevin Durant's defending. Royce O'Neal's defending. Ben Simmons is defending. They got guys all around the court. Watanabe is playing good basketball. I know the Anthony Edwards dunking victim, right? So this is just a basketball team that's so in sync right now. They got rim protection right now. They got perimeter defense. Offensively, they got some of the best, firepower in basketball. This is just a great team. I still am always going to be somewhat of a skeptic, which is why I have them a tier down from Boston and Milwaukee, because I don't know when this team is going to mentally implode. I never know. You never know what's going to happen with Kyrie. Heck, you never know what's going to happen with Ben Simmons or even Kevin Durant to a lesser extent. So I question the focus of this team, but when you're talking pure upside, this is a top 3 team in the East and a championship contender.
Yeah, I was not aware of Nick Clack. I knew he was a good rim protector, but wow, I was kind of surprised with those numbers. I still think behind him, though, you obviously need some more depth. I don't think Day'Ron Sharpe is really the answer as a backup big right now, but that's not a very major problem.
Respect Sharpe, man. Respect him. I love him in college in North Carolina.
They'll probably figure out more problems down the path of the season. I thought their bench has been pretty solid this year. TJ Warren, after missing an entire year, has looked solid. Seth Curry his role has really dropped off this year. I'm not too sure why. He's averaging like 10 less minutes a game, and his numbers have dropped. They've been like cut in half. I think this is definitely a top 4 team.
Watanabe, right?
Yeah.
Like you got a lot of guys back. TJ Warren, right? So makes sense
for sure.
What do you think, Alfred?
Yeah, I mean, same thing that Zach said. I knew he was a good rim protector, but I mean, based off those numbers, it sounds like he's probably the best rim protector this year. And that attests to where Brooklyn has ascended in, the defensive rankings and how well they've been defending. I'm sure he's is a big part of that. Like you mentioned, you said Kevin Durant's having one of his best defensive seasons of his career, not next to Draymond Green, but he has somebody, that is, in the 100th percentile, in which stat was that? He was in the 100th percentile of?
Yeah, like adjusted rim field goal percentage or something like that. Yeah.
That's insane. That's
So,
insane. So
he's been an elite interior defender this year. Brooklyn's deep rebounding does scare me a little bit. They're 24th in defensive rebounding right now. And, 50th overall, so they get offensive rebounds. Claxton's a good offensive rebounder, makes sense, right? But I still think this team needs to be better rebounding, which I think is doable because KD can get on the glass, Claxton can, Simmons can, right?
Yeah.
Like they should be fine on the glass. They're 15th in rebounds overall, but I think the defense becomes a bigger problem when you have the offense try twice in one possession after missing the first time. You know, it's something you and I know, Zach, that the Timberwolves struggle with. So, yeah, that's definitely the next step for this team. But honestly, the only roster I think in the East that's better than this is Boston. I think this is a better roster than Milwaukee. I really do. I mean, Milwaukee is one of the slowest teams in the NBA outside of Giannis. Let's just call it how it is. They have no elite bench scorers. I mean, Bobby Portis, I guess. Like, Bobby Portis been very good, but, you know, Brook Lopez, respect him, right? But I still think in terms of bench depth, it seems that Bucks team is kind of It's kind of unathletic outside of Giannis and Grayson Allen, you know? So I would take Milwaukee over Brooklyn because I trust Giannis more than anybody on that Brooklyn roster. But it's just something worth considering.
Yeah. I have one final thought here. I don't even think this team, I don't think they've hit their ceiling as a team, obviously. I think Ben Simmons and what he can figure out offensively is what really could unlock what this team can fully do. I was looking at some cleaning the glass numbers. Ben Simmons, his last full season in 2021, he was in the 100th percentile for drawing fouls on shot attempts. He drew a foul on 18% of his shots. This year, he's dropped all the way down to 8% and the 50th percentile. Like, he's cut his drawing fouls numbers in half. He's not welcoming contact as much. He doesn't want the ball as much offensively, it seems like. He's been a shell of himself offensively. I think the defense is still there, but once he starts to figure out the offense, which is, I mean, he's still really young. I think over time he'll start to figure it out more. I think this team will really hit its climax.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. You know, this Ben Simmons, that is an interesting case, right? Like, how much of that is mental and how much of that is his back? You know, I don't know. That's something to know, because it just feels like that Ben Simmons situation is so blurry. Like, I don't know what you're going to get out of that. It's probably a mix of both, if I had to guess. You know, we'll see if that gets better. It was obviously like horrendous to start the year, right? Because what was the average? Like 4 to 6 points a game to start the year.
I think it was like 6.
He's only at 8 right now. So he's definitely been a shell of himself offensively.
Yeah, I think he'll start to figure out more over time. But yeah, once like I don't think this team will be at its best until he figures it out more. I still think that's a really good team, even if he doesn't figure it out. But I think he can really unlock, championship upside in this team.
All right, guys. Zach, I'll let you have this option. Do you want to talk about Rudy Gobert and the Timberwolves? You want to skip that and go right to the would you rather?
We can talk about for a little bit.
Okay.
We can vent a little bit.
I'll leave the floor to you. I'll let you start that conversation.
How you feeling, Zach? How you feeling?
Well, we're at the point for me where it's like I'm not even excited to watch the games right now. Like, I'm not like necessarily dreading them, but oh my gosh, that Heat game I just watched. I mean, we lost by, I think it was 3 or 4. That was, and I know James doesn't fully agree with this, but that was the worst game of the year that I've watched the team. The Heat were without their 3 best bigs. An undrafted rookie, Orlando Robinson, outplayed Rudy Gobert and got 5 offensive rebounds on him and Naz Reid. It was just a horrible game. It really lowered my, I don't usually have one game impact my mind that much, but man, that really took it out of me. We couldn't stop turning over the ball. Like, Ant's pure numbers look good, but Ant had 8 turnovers that game. He just couldn't hold on to the ball. It's been a struggling year. I still think this is definitely a playoff team. I just don't think it's the team that we expected to be. I thought it was a top 4 seed once the Rudy Gobert trade was made. I definitely don't think they're that anymore. I don't think we're screwed. I think there's still upside in this team. I think you obviously need Karl-Anthony Towns back. I remember bringing up stuff on my Instagram page yesterday that Karl-Anthony Towns has legitimately been the best passer to Rudy Gobert this year. He's done a better job finding Gobert than Russell and Edwards combined even.
I was going to say that combined.
Yeah, like literally combined. He's done a better job. I don't know what it is. It's like, it might be because Cat, he's a little more wild sometimes when it comes to his pass. He likes to try things. And I think that's what our other guards have to start doing. But it's been so weird with Gobert. His rim protection has not been elite this year like it always is. His putbacks have lowered by 10% in the makes. Like, I think at some point he'll find it, but it's like, I don't understand why he hasn't yet. I don't understand hopefully what we're doing differently than what the Jazz have done. I think our team in general has more defense than what any Jazz team has ever provided him. I don't know what the fall off has been. I thought at the beginning of the year we were really forcing him looks, and he was doing pretty good when we were forcing him looks. It seemed like I think not having Cat next to him honestly has been worse for him. Whether people agree with that or not, it's just for his offense. I think Cat's like the only guy that knows how to find the dude for some reason. D'Angelo Russell and him still haven't figured out the pick and roll. I guess it's been a weird team, but this is a team that I think is a second half of the year team. I think you absolutely need guys like Jordan McLaughlin and Taurean Prince healthy in the lineup. Those guys have been out for like a month.
Kyle Anderson.
And Kyle Anderson, he's been out. This is the third time he's been on the injury report for back spasms.
More than that. It's more than that. It was like that early in the season.
Oh yeah, like this is the third occurrence though. Like he's been out for like 10 games probably because of the back spasms. But yeah, you're missing an all NBA player in Cat for a while now. Like it's still a playoff team to me, but it's not the team I envisioned.
It's a roller coaster, man. It's a roller coaster. It's like it's like a really toxic female, because it's just like these cycle of emotions that come, daily, right? This team, 18 losses, right? But 5 3-game losing streaks. 5.
Yeah.
So when they fall, man, they plummet. And I think that's what makes this team more frustrating, because that makes you think that's more mental. Makes you think when you plummet like that and you go back up, like 3 wins in a row, 3 wins lost. Like it's just like this 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down, 1 up, 2 down, right? Like it's a team of losing streaks and winning streaks. And it just makes you think a lot of that is mental. I think there's a lot of, turmoil, a lot of change that happens all the time. I think that Miami game in particular, like, Rudy Gobert was awful, don't get me wrong, but the guards had no idea how to manage the zone that Miami was throwing at him. I don't think Finch figured it out. Like, I would think that you'd be able to collapse the zone and get Rudy in the dunker spot or something. We just couldn't do it. I thought
it sucked.
Eric Spoelstra outcoached Chris Finch that game, and Chris Finch has been outcoached a lot this year. His rotations have been weird. His ability to manage timeouts has been weird. Feels like he makes decisions like a few seconds too late. Like Jalen Noel was a train wreck. I think if he got subbed out 3 minutes earlier, I think they win the game, right? Like there's a lot of concerns with Chris Finch. Rudy is an interesting one, because I think he's been really good at times this year and he's been bad in other times. And there's been times where he struggled, and it seems like that correlates when he's on the injury report versus when he's not. Like Rudy Gobert came back against Dallas and he looked great, right? And then on Friday, I raised my eyebrow after that great game. He was back on the injury report, questionable. And then he just couldn't move the same that game. He didn't look as focused. That happened again on Monday. My theory is I think Rudy Gobert's banged up. I think that's a big part of it. And the rim protection is very weird, because I think a part of it is he doesn't trust his team to get defensive rebounds. I think a lot of Rudy's struggles are on the guards. I don't think it's only on Rudy. I think it's somewhat on Rudy. I think it's somewhat on the guards. They don't know how to set him up. They don't know how to exploit zones, the defensive schemes, D'Lo and Ant in particular, right? And it's just not a good defensive rebounding team outside of the inner zone. And that is a guard problem. And I think that makes Rudy more like, okay, I'm just gonna put my hands up and get the rebound, right?
Yeah.
So it's a part of it. It's not everything, but Rudy has to play better, man. He's got to get healthy. His hands got to be better. And he's got to just say, you know what? F it. I'm going to block this shot. I'm just going to block the shot and worry about it later. I think where he struggles is he doesn't understand that this is a loudmouth team. He's the Mr. Do the little things guy, and we're a top 6 paint defense still. So he's doing the little things. But I think this team gets more fed off of him doing loud things, right? You agree with that, Zach? That's why Vando was such a big piece. He was loud about it. Right. Rudy is very methodical. He's kind of like an offensive lineman in football. You don't really notice him, but he's doing it. Right. And I think that doesn't click with players. And I think the fact that his blocks are down makes that a bigger problem, because people are like, guys, he's a great rim protector. Where is he? Like if Rudy Gobert just said, you know what, F it, I'm going to risk it and block that SHIT out of this ball and hit it in the third row, I think that's going to make players rebound more. I think that's going to make players more energized to play with them, right? So that's a lot on Rudy, so I just think the correlation between this team has been messed up. Half of our brains have been missing with Taurean Prince, Kyle Anderson, and Jordan McLaughlin. Like, that's like half of our IQ. And that struggles because Rudy plays best with high IQ players. Jalen Noel hasn't taken a leap. Cat's been out. It's just, there's been a lot of problems, and I think a lot of them are fixable if people are willing to adjust, if the guards are willing to, figure out how to set up Rudy and commit to it more in favorable situations, not full court, like slick passes D'Lo likes to throw. But at the same time, Rudy Gobert has to blend into the personality of this team, which is kind of a giant FU mindset. And if you don't play with the FU, there's literally nothing in them. So Rudy's got to be more out there and loud about his actions. So there's a lot of problems. Is it fixable? Yes, but I don't think it's going to be fixable enough for this team to jump to the top of the West this year. Maybe it's something that happens down the road. We'll see. I don't think it's the end of the world, but I think it's really concerning.
Yeah, if I was a judge and somebody came in, just that they got in trouble and stuff, and I would not give them jail time. I would make them bet a percentage of their life savings on D'Angelo Russell's over under. I make them bet a percentage of their life savings on D'Angelo Russell's over rebounds, and they can go through the pain of watching him give zero craps about where the ball is when it comes off the basket, and just sit there and stare at the basketball and have no care in the world about boxing out or doing anything of that nature, and just letting others do that work. I like Russell.
He has no awareness. He has no awareness. He was asked about what is wrong with his rebounding, and he said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can tell. And I'm just a stupid kid with a microphone in front of me. I know what's wrong. You don't know what's wrong? You're getting paid $30 million to do it.
Yeah. I can't watch him rebound, man. He's part of the issue. I love Jaden McDaniels more than a lot of people. He is a part of that defensive rebound issue. He ranks like the 7th percentile.
Naz Reid is.
Yep.
Ant's averaging over 6 boards. He's an 85th percentile rebounder this year. He isn't much of the problem.
Yeah, Ant's been good. Ant's helped the problem. But yeah, I mean, Gobert, he's still I think he might be leading the league in rebounds. So I'm not too sure on that. If he's not, he's top 3 at least. But it's a lot of the pieces around him. He's not the issue when it comes to rebounding for me. Like there's been spots like, holy crap, how was Orlando Robinson getting those rebounds over you last game?
I think he was hurt. That's why I think he was hurt.
Yeah. He's had a few ankle sprains this year. It's been weird.
And plus he played Euro Cup in the summer.
Yeah, it's true.
So
and they went to the finals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of things, man. I think health is a big thing for Rudy, and I think he needs to play more concentrated at times. I think he needs to blend into the personality of the team better. Alfred is just sitting here taking it like a therapist.
Yeah, I'm letting you guys vent. I know it's a lot. Right. From a Cowboys fan, I know how it can be.
You heard us. What do you think?
I agree with what, mainly what you were saying. I think that, the common denominator is Rudy Gobert. That's why you guys made the trade. That's why you're paying him what you're paying him, because you expect him to be, that certain force. But I think you do have to take into account, like you said, you've been super attentive with, how he's moved around in the injury report. You have to take that into account, that he could potentially be injured, and you guys have suffered injuries kind of all season long a little bit. So those are just things you have to take into account. You guys are a young team trying to overcome being young and in a very deep conference as well. So I think it's a time thing. And I think once you guys are able to get Anthony Edwards right and, Karl Anthony Towns to where you need to be, that's when you guys will be able to fully flourish, because you won't need to even look at Gobert too much, less than Utah did. You guys will be in a position to where you'll be able to ask less out of him than Utah did, is essentially what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I think the common denominator here is Rudy Gobert.
And to add another thought to it, right? And there's also just so much confusion on the identity of this team, right? A lot of people are including myself, Cat being out stinks, but maybe something comes out of it is we'll figure out this team might have a better identity without him. You can't even figure that out because half of our bench is hurt. So you're not only missing Cat, you're missing all your depth. So it just equals a not very good roster that you're playing with every night. So it's it's so divided in Timberwolves Twitter because it's like, haha, I told you we're not better without Cat, which is probably true. And then there's the F Cat, get him out of here. I don't think either of them have been proven right or wrong because you can't say the Cat. Obviously, you're worse without Cat when you're also missing McLaughlin, Prince, and Anderson, right? Like,
yeah, like we're missing so many depth pieces. Like Finch, I mean, Finch should never be running out this lineup, but he ran out a lineup last game where it was like Noel, Forbes, and freaking Matt Ryan as your backcourt defensively. Obviously, that is getting absolutely cooked.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, obviously that is going to get cooked.
One regular season. There you go.
Like, yeah, I think Finch is, he's got to figure stuff out too. But yeah, the depth pieces need to come back. I hate how this medical staff gives no information on anything. Like, for all we've known, McLaughlin's been out for a month because he has some calf soreness. Like, obviously, it's more than that. Like calf soreness doesn't last a month. I remember D'Angelo Russell in the past has had a few instances where he's out for something super minor and then he's out for weeks. And they just don't give any information. So we don't know how long these guys are out for. Prince has been out for over a month for, what we know is like a shoulder issue.
1 to 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, 1 2 weeks. Oh yeah, never mind. Maybe like 5 or 6. But yeah, it's been it hasn't been a very fun year to watch. I think they'll figure out some point, but it's a thing that takes time. Like we saw the Celtics double big lineup take until the end of January last year. Not saying we're going to make the finals or anything, but I think we're more of a second half year team like we were last year. I think it's a team that will be in the playoffs, but not the top 4 seed that I was looking at before.
Pain. Alfred, we'll leave it to you. What's your prediction for the rest of the year?
For the T-Wolves?
Yep.
Oh, I think it depends. I think it depends on the injuries and who comes back when they come back. Like you guys just were noting, there's no real timetable. There's no real transparency about the depth of the injuries. I think if you guys can find a way to get healthy, you guys can string together some wins. And you guys aren't bad. There's no reason to be on suicide watch or anything. You know what I mean? You guys, like I said earlier, you guys
don't tell Timberwolves Twitter that. They already are.
Every loss for the Wolves, Timberwolves Twitter treats like the end of the world.
Gosh. I mean,
so toxic.
Like I said, I think it comes down to the injuries. You guys are young, trying to overcome a ton of injuries, and in a deep Western Conference. I think if you guys get some guys back, you guys will be able to string some wins together, or at least find better chemistry. I think chemistry is a big thing down there too, and it's kind of been for a while. You know what I mean? With different combinations of you guys as squads, guys are just not getting along down there, and I think there's just a lot to consider there, as far as where do they stand right now in West rankings?
They're 11th right now.
Yeah, they're 11th, but they're only 2 games back from the 7th spot. So like we're talking, they go on like a 3-game win streak. All of a sudden, the 8th seed. That's how close it is.
Yeah, see, like it's more than possible. Like I said, I think it's a matter of injuries and who comes back and when. Yeah, I don't think you guys are bad, nor do I think you guys are in a bad position. You guys are another team that are in a much better position than most teams. It's just a matter of timing and things falling together and stars aligning. But like I said, the common denominator is Rudy Gobert and what he can do.
As long as Anthony Edwards is healthy and on my team, I'm happy-ish.
Yeah, he's the truth. Every bit of it. He may be my favorite young player in the NBA. Saying that now.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so I think Zach and I had our Timberwolves therapy and just Alfred just taking it.
Yeah.
And we only have one topic left in the show, and Alfred is running it this week. Who would you rather build around, with one player specialized as the addition of the series? So Alfred, let's get started.
All right. So this week I only have 4 guys. And
yep, is one player who's the specialized edition, right? So it's that player versus right. Yeah.
Okay, so my one guy is Paolo Banchero. Hopefully I said his name properly.
Ooh.
Probably said it better than I did.
Yeah.
So then I want to start out and I want to ask you guys, would you rather between him, Paolo Banchero, or Jalen Green down in Houston?
Paolo.
You go first, James.
Easy for me. Paolo, I think he's better right now and younger. That's first of all. Second of all, I think he has superior playmaking upside. I love his size. I think his frame is more NBA ready at the same stage, his finishing around the basket. I think he has more defensive upside as well because Paolo is already a decent interior defender. And, you know, what he's doing as a rookie, guys, is it's Zion-ish, it's Luka-ish, it's LeBron-ish. I'm going to throw it out there. It's just he's having one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen. And obviously he had the worst game of his career yesterday against LeBron, which probably stinks for him because he loves LeBron. But he's a fantastic talent. And Jalen Green is awesome, but he's just a step under.
Yeah, I'm taking Banchero as well. Banchero is going to be the rookie of the year. It's going to be between him and Mathurin, but I don't think it's going to be very close when the voting happens. I mean, he's already a 21 per game scorer. And we haven't even seen, like a lot of players, like the last, few top draft picks have had massive second halves of the season. We saw it with Cunningham last year. We saw it with Green big time last year. Saw it with Edwards the year before that. What's going to be in case here for the second half of the year for Banchero? I think he's going to be a phenomenal paint scorer for the vast majority of his career. He's a really big dude. I love his frame. I love his, playmaking, facilitating upside already as like a 6'10", 6'11" massive player. He's averaging almost 4 dimes a game. I think he's got a lot more upside as a passer than Green. I think he also has more upside as a defender. Overall, I think it's got to be Banchero right now.
Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely going Banchero as well. The size, he's more versatile. I'm definitely going Banchero. It's pretty easily too. Pretty easily on that one. Hopefully, these other three aren't as easy. Let's go. Would you rather between Paolo Banchero or Cade Cunningham?
Paolo again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not even thinking about it. I like Cade. I just, like I said, Paolo is younger and better. It's really that simple. He's younger, he's better, he's bigger, he's stronger. I think Cade has more upside as a defender because I think he has more perimeter defensive upside. But I really think that's as far as it goes. I really do. Paolo, he's an elite rim pressure already. He's more shifty off the dribble. Their jump shots are pretty close. I'll give Cade the edge, but I don't think it's significant. Neither are great 3-point shooters. Cade's a slightly better mid-range shooter. Paolo's the way better finisher. And I just think he could force his will physically, offensively more than Cade can. Cade just doesn't have an elite offensive skill to me. I think the closest to that to me is his mid-range shooting. But outside of that, I don't think he does anything elite offensively. He's not a great space creator. I give Cade the benefit or the edge for sure on perimeter defense and mid-range shooting, but I think that's as far as it goes right now. So Paolo.
Yeah, I'm also taking Banchero. Even if this is, kind of close for some people, I think Cunningham already missing basically, obviously super unfortunate that he has to miss the entire year with an injury. He's missing the entire year of development. Having a season-ending injury at this young, it definitely will hurt his development. I think he's already, a mile ahead of where Cade Cunningham was at this stage of his rookie season last year. Cade even missed time last year at the start of the year with injuries.
And Summer League.
Yeah. Like this is like the third time now where he's had, some sort of a significant injury. And I haven't really seen that from Banchero. And I just think he's more advanced already at the young age than what Cunningham was last year. I'm taking Banchero as well.
Yeah, I would take Banchero as well. I love Cunningham's game and his ceiling. I feel like his ceiling could put him maybe like just one step below Paolo. So yeah, I definitely think I'm definitely taking Banchero, but I'm a big fan of Cade as well. I think his ceiling is high, and hopefully the injury won't affect him too much going forward in the future.
Yeah, he's a winning player, man. Cade is just a winning player because he gives one thing I'll give Cade that not many young players have. He cares about the little things more than almost any young player in the league.
Yeah,
Like on
that's
both
winning
sides of the
basketball.
floor. And I think that goes a long way for his development as a leader. So Cade's awesome.
For sure.
Okay. So my next one is, would you rather between Banchero or Jordan Poole?
Oh,
Paolo.
yeah, I'm definitely taking Paolo.
Yeah, not
Oh,
close for me.
okay, man. Paolo is a prodigy here. All right.
He's him.
So why?
Well, I don't know how much, more Poole will develop over time. I don't believe in his upside defensively at all. I think he's a really good player still. I get so annoyed when he talks about himself like he's Curry sometimes. I don't know if you guys realize that when he's talking post game, he thinks he's Curry sometimes. But yeah, he's definitely somebody who, he's probably gonna make the All-Star game at some point in his career. I just don't think he has near the upside as Banchero does. I don't think he's going to become, a super high-end playmaker at any point of his career. I think he's just one of those, really high-end scoring, non-defensive, type player prototypes. He's a one-way player to me, and I think Banchero definitely has more of an upside as a two-way player.
Yeah, they're not in the same stratosphere as young talents. Jordan Poole comes in, like credit to his development, but Paolo's coming in as one of the best rookies in the last decade. And, Paolo, people who just looked apart, like Jordan Poole doesn't look the part, but Paolo does. And Paolo is able to force his will physically in ways that Poole can't. He's a better playmaker. He's got more defensive upside. He just has way more upside as an overall franchise engine than Jordan Poole does, in my opinion. Like Jordan Poole could put up great numbers whenever he wants, when he gets the touches, but I just don't see that translating to franchise altering momentum the way Paolo can eventually.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a great scorer. He's a great shot maker, but ultimately, like you said, he's not the transcendent star that can transform your franchise.
Come on, Alfred, give us a big one. Give us a big one.
Okay, last one here. I'm very interested to see how you take this one because I think you guys shouldn't do it so easily. I think, but let's see. So we have: would you rather Banchero or Zion Williamson?
Oh, I
That's a
like
good.
that.
That's a good one. Should I start first?
Yeah, you go.
I'll go Paolo. And it isn't. I think peak Zion Williamson. I think peak Zion Williamson's higher than peak Paolo Banchero, but I think Paolo gives a higher end floor one in the playoffs because of his 3-level shot making upside, but also, just the durability element. I still worry about Zion physically a little bit, but this is a close one, man. I think talent level, I think Zion's a little more talented, but I love Paolo's skill set and I think he's a higher floor player. So I'll go Paolo.
All right, I'm happy we're disagreeing here, and it's like I could go either way, but I'm a big Zion fan. I actually really like both those guys.
I got both of their jerseys.
Yeah, I have a Zion jersey. I'm trying to get a Paul one soon, but I would take Zion here. Like you said, you agree here too. I think his ceiling is higher as a player. I do have concerns obviously when it comes to the injuries, but we're looking at these two players overall, I would like to bet on the guy with more upside as a player. I mean, he was by far more efficient already than Banchero in his rookie year. I mean, Zion had a 59 EFG in his rookie year, which is nuts. I think he's going to be more efficient for a long time. He's already been a solid playmaker. I don't think he has much deficiencies there. And I think they both have similar upside as defender.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going Zion if we're talking today. If we're talking this season, I'm going Zion. If we're talking future, I think I'm gonna go Paolo for some of the same reasons. I love the 3-level scoring. I still question the durability of Zion. And I just think long term, if Paolo, if everything goes the way it should go, Paolo would be the much more consistent option throughout his career than Zion would be. So that's why I would say long term, it would be Banchero. But if we're talking right now this season, I'd probably take Zion.
If you are telling me, by the way, I'm so sorry I ran off of you during your talk, Zach, I had to.
He'd go grab his Banchero jersey.
Yeah, sir. Look at this. I understand it's inverted, but look at that. So
if you're listening on Spotify, you're gonna have to go to the YouTube.
With the Paolo jersey. I look even more pale with the Paolo jersey than I do a Steph jersey. So I should probably change the jersey pretty soon. But I love Paolo.
Yeah, if you're listening on Spotify or something, you're gonna have to go to the YouTube to check this out. I mean, this is must see. It's not TV, but must see. Content. James got the Paolo jersey on.
Now I just look like snow. Like I am Frosty the Snowman. Why does this jersey make me look so pale? Is it just because it's like dark black? So it's just like opposite?
Maybe.
It's bad. But yeah, we're good. I love Paolo. All right.
Same.
So Alfred, you got to throw two more in there. Throw some more. Zion was a really good one.
Okay, let me think. Off the top of my head, I felt like LaMelo would be too easy. Because we all think very highly. We all think very, very highly of Banchero. So
you should throw in maybe somebody from like Memphis or like Minnesota or
Boston. I'm gonna say let's throw in Ja because I wanted to put him in there. I wanted to put Ja. That was one of the first people I thought of. So let's go. Who's gonna go first?
Yeah. I'll go. I mean, I'll take Ja. I think again, another guy that I do have some injury concerns about. He hasn't played more than 67 games in a season yet in his career. But he's already showing just like these shades of being a championship number one option. He's doing it again this year. Memphis they're not a championship favorite, but they're going to be a team that's definitely competing for a championship when the end of the year comes. He's still really young. He's only 23 years old, but he's figured out a lot of his game. I think over time he'll continue to evolve as well. Whether that's moving a little bit off the athleticism, becoming more of a shooter. But obviously, I think he's got some clear issues defensively. But I just think with the offense, with his playmaking, with his slashing ability, with his scoring in general, I would take Morant.
Paolo till I die. I'm going Paolo. And look, Ja is awesome. I'm not the biggest Ja fan, but he's an awesome player. I just stick with Ja Morant. There's three things. This many. There's three things. One, not a good defender ever. I don't think he'll ever be a good defender. I just think he is. I think his offensive game takes too much of a physical burden, and I think he's small weight-wise. I think that's a bad recipe defensively. Number two, I don't think he's ever going to be a good shooter off the dribble. He just doesn't have he has that little push shot thing he does. He's best as a shooter when he gets a gather step, like when he's like in momentum and transition and pulls up. Like he's pretty good at that, but he's not a dynamic shooter off the dribble and he's not a great shooter off the catch. I don't think with his form, he'll ever be great at those things. And number three, if you're asking me, okay, give me the 6'2", 6'3", 170-pound guard or the 6'10", 250-pound monster who can handle it, who can also play make and has some defensive upside and is just somebody who looks like he can take 82 games a year in and year out because of his strength and frame. It's no question to be Paolo Banchero. Ja hasn't played a single season over 67 games yet. And he, as unfortunate as it is, he drives so out of control around the basket. Like I always cringe when he drives, man. You know what I mean? I always get a little nervous. I still worry about that a little bit with Ja, because he's so electric. You hope he stays healthy, but like Paolo, the way he moves, his physical profile, I just trust that a little more. And, more upside as a shot maker and defender. I just think he has a higher upside, period. I'll make a comment about Paolo that'll make people mad at the end, but it's Paolo.
One more. This one should be
What
fun.
What about you? Tiebreaker.
I agree with what you were saying as far as the toll his play style takes and the energy. I think I lean toward Ja though. I lean toward Ja right now, honestly, because it's the safe thing to say. It's the safe thing to say, honestly, because I mean, I feel like Paolo's ceiling's higher, but we've kind of already seen Ja do a lot already. So I feel like it's a matter of time. I say Ja now, but it's a matter of time with Banchero.
Paolo is as good, if not better, than Ja was as a rookie, and he's a rookie basically over a year younger. Because Ja spent 2 years in college.
Wait? I'm just like mindlessly looking at Basketball Reference. Did you know that Ja's first name is Demetrius?
I had no idea.
Demetrius. His full name is Demetrius Jamel Morant.
Okay, I'm gonna start yelling at the TV when I get mad at him. Demetrius. I'll do that like at the playoffs if we face them again someday.
Yeah, that was a good one though. I think, I think it's closer than a lot of people would think. Like just a normal NBA fan would think. Like obviously the normal NBA fan would be like, oh yeah, Ja. But when you think about things in depth, Morant does struggle with, staying healthy. I think Paolo's game will probably age better as well. I mean, I'm still taking Morant. I'm kind of like trying to prove myself wrong at the same time here. But I think it's hard to go against the guy who's, already made an All NBA team compared to a guy who's played like 30 games. Right. But I can understand why people take Banchero.
I'm a believer.
He's a believer. He's got the jersey on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Alfred, cook with another one.
Okay, so Banchero or Anthony Edwards?
Edwards.
Paolo.
No. You're not doing this, James.
It's Paolo.
Oh God, no.
It's Paolo. Okay. Why you did that to me? I think Ant has the higher ceiling. I think the best version of Ant's a better version than Paolo. But I think Paolo has a higher offensive ceiling, and I think he's going to buy in. Like, Ant's already a good defender, and I think he can be a great defender. I think Paolo has an even higher offensive ceiling because of his size advantage, because of his playmaking advantage, even though Edwards is taking a leap as a playmaker. And I think Paolo is going to be a decent enough defender. And I just, you know what I mean? The 6'10" guy who can really play make, pressure the rim, score from all three levels, man. He's special, man. That's a hard
I don't know
one.
Though.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That hurt me.
But I mean, like, Ant's physically bigger than like everybody that he matches up against already. I mean,
he's a freak.
Like he's already. I mean, he was like almost 240 pounds coming to the season. That's not what he usually is.
That was like 11% body fat, though. That's not good.
Yeah. Like he weighs similar, like close to Banchero. He's obviously a lot shorter. He's like half foot shorter. But I just think, he's already a top 3, top 4 athlete in the NBA. I think right now they're pretty close as playmakers. I think Banchero at some point will separate himself, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a separation. I think Edwards will always be the better shooter. He'll always be the better shot creator. I believe in his defense a lot more too. I still have a lot of questions when it comes to like off-ball stuff and gets disengaged, which is I don't understand how he continues to get disengaged defensively, but he's a brick wall a lot of times on ball, and especially that guard position. He's a faster player as well. I'd like to build around a guard more than a forward in today's NBA, especially.
By the way, I would take Edwards over Ja too. So
yeah, I would too.
I would too.
So that hurt my heart, but yeah, I would follow ever so slightly.
I would go Edwards here. I like his explosiveness more. And definitely the shooting ability. I think overall, I think at the end of the day, I think his ceiling is higher. I think Anthony Edwards' ceiling is a little bit higher than Banchero's is.
That's fair. I think Paolo's athleticism gets a little bit of a bad rep. I think he is a very athletic player, and he's got elite feet, strong. He's boxy. and I'm not making this comp, but the way he like pressures the rim sometimes looks like a young Cavs LeBron. Like he's not LeBron, but like it looks kind of like that sometimes. So yeah, that's really hard. It's really close. What Paulo's doing right now, man, I think is playmaking upside. I think he can legit average 7 to 8 assists a game. I really do. So I can see him putting up like 28, 10, and 8. I'm serious. While giving good defense. He's already an above average interior defender. He's way better than Edwards was as a rookie too. So like, yeah, it's hard. Those guys are neck and neck.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
I think
any more, Alfred, or are we done with that?
No, I think we're done with that.
All right, what you say, Zach?
Well, I think part of the reason why Banchero just looks a lot better right now is because Ant reclassified and he was a year ahead of what he should have been.
True.
But yeah, but no doubt Banchero. I mean, he looks miles ahead of what Ant was in the first half of his rookie year. Ant was not like even close to the second half of his rookie season. They're like two completely different players. Like Ant was averaging like 14 a game on really poor efficiency in the first half of his rookie season, and that was also with Ryan Saunders, being the worst coach in the NBA at the time. But yeah, I think I would take Edwards still. But yeah, that was a good segment. Yeah.
Plus, he had to play basketball a month after he got drafted.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, those guys are close, man. But I was going to say, man, I think if you're talking, I think Paolo's going to push himself into the Luka and Tatum tier.
Possible.
I think Edwards can too, by the way. I really do.
Yeah.
Edwards is better than Tatum was at the same stage throughout his career. Like year 2 Edwards is better than year 2 Tatum. And at this part of year 3 is better than year 3 Tatum. I think Edwards could be every bit as good as Tatum, if not better. But like all of these guys are so freaking good. Those are my 4 favorite young players to build around. Luka, Tatum, and then right behind, a little less proven, Ant and Paolo.
I agree with that.
Love that list.
All right, guys. You got anything else before we end the show?
I'll just thank you guys, thank the audience,
Yeah, appreciate everybody who's listened to this. We'll probably have our next show come out like in a week from today or something like that. But yeah, this was a really good first show. I think we went like 2 hours today.
Almost 2 hours. Like I think like an hour 40 something. That's pretty good. Sweet. Yep. And just thank you guys so much. We're going to continue expanding our show. We're going to continue getting more comfortable. I'm excited to, grow with everybody, here and also the audience. So it's going to be great. We're going to start having guests more frequently. I think we'll have guests on most episodes. We just thought it would be good to like kind of ease in today. It's kind of an ease in episode, but yeah, I think we went in pretty hard despite that. Yeah, I think I was kind of thinking like we wouldn't have like guests on for the entire show, but like, let's say like the 76ers have something massive going on and we can, bring on like some young not Timberwolves, but like 76ers, reporter onto the show for like 20 minutes. And we know guys on Instagram that can come in and fill those roles. But yeah, I think we'll definitely have a lot of guests on the show too, to give different perspectives. And who knows, maybe we'll have multiple guests on one episode for different segments, like we're going to try a lot of things and we're going to have a lot of interesting series. Well, we'll try to get some, people on here too that they have their own platforms and it's not because they create content, but it's because, maybe they're a basketball player or an owner of a basketball team, which I have some connections to that we could maybe get on the show at some point, but we'll see. Absolutely. And just thank you guys again. We're going to talk about next week because we didn't get to that today. The 2021 NBA draft class. We'll cover that more. That's partially on me. I missed that one, but we'll do that next week and it's going to be fun. So, all right, guys, thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next week. This is Windshield Hoops.